in appointing army personnel to ministries, to secretaries? What is going to happen when riots take place, when the people have decided to talk, when they go further because their voices are not being listened to? What are you going to do? You're going to unleash the military. That is what is going to happen. That is what this president and this government is gearing for, Honorable Presiding Member, because there cannot be any other reason. If every single member seated opposite wants to maintain their political credibility, the only way that they can do it under the present circumstances is to support the dissolution of Parliament. Give us the support for that 2/3 so that we can go and tell the President to hold that parliamentary election. And I say that you need a parliamentary election because even if the President resigns for whatever reasons tomorrow, this House will be asked to elect a new President. How can this House be asked to elect a new President when this House itself is totally redundant? So it is my party's considered view, Honourable Presiding Member, and we will certainly give our fullest support, and we challenge members opposite. We challenge members like the Honourable Pushpa Kumara who just spoke. If they are credible, let us bring a motion to dissolve Parliament and let us raise that 2/3. Let us raise that 2/3. And if you can do that, you can also impeach. You can also impeach. If you don't do that, all those who do not support that will be held culpable. Will be held culpable, and they will be held accountable. Honourable Presiding Member, today the people, in fact, the leader of the opposition this morning had tweeted that there has to be a system change. There has to be, and what I presume he meant by that is a radical change in the entirety of the system, because the system has failed. Well, the Tamil political parties seated in opposition have always been saying that, not just in this parliament, but every single parliament for the last 70-odd years, that this system that you have is not going to work because it is a system that is rejected by the citizenry, a part of the citizenry of this country. The Tamils have rejected this system. Increasingly, you will find the Muslims rejecting everyone that the state, in the name of security or in the name of Sinhala Buddhism or in the name of what have you, whatever fancies the government of the day, will target as enemies. This system cannot protect. For various reasons, this system has failed. And if that system is to change, what is that change? The Honourable Opposition Leader, Sajith Premadasa, again, a couple of weeks ago, to the great disappointment to our party and to me as well, said that he's going to implement the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. What is the implementation of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution? How are you going to implement it? The 13th Amendment to the Constitution has been in force for the last 34 years. Are you going to do something that you have not done in the last 34 years? You can't implement so-called the 13th Amendment because it is within the unitary state structure. For as long as you remain within the unitary state structure, you cannot devolve power. That is, everyone knows that. The Supreme Court has ruled not once, over 30 times, upholding that principle. So you can't implement the 13th Amendment and be sincere to devolution. You have to change the system. And what is that change? You have to move away from the unitary constitution. Now, I'm raising this issue, Honourable Presiding Member, in this debate with regards to the IMF and with regards to this political financial crisis for a reason. You see, for the first time, I have said this a number of times in this House, I see an opportunity for this reason, that the Sinhalese people today don't trust their own leaders. I don't say it as a boasting phenomenon, something that I feel happy about, but it is an important situation. They feel that their own leaders have destroyed their country. Today there is no war. In the last 13 years, when this country could have gone from strength to strength, you have not. You have in fact gone from pitfall to pitfall. And today you are bankrupt. So, for the first time when they are questioning their leaders and they're angry with their leaders for the decisions that they have taken, why I say there is a golden opportunity is this. We are asking the ordinary Sinhalese people to then just think, if their own leaders have brought them to this level, have lied to them and destroyed this country in the way they have in front of their own eyes, just imagine what they have been telling about the Tamils. Just imagine what they have been telling about what the Tamils stand for. When we say we are for a federal state, these Sinhalese leaders, without batting an eyelid, continue to lie even today. Lie and say that federalism is separation. Ask those questions. Ask those questions, because those are the lies that have destroyed you. Today, this country is spending almost 19% on defense. 13% directly goes for military. 13% of your annual budget. And that is supposed to increase by 2% every year. That is the nature of the military that you have created. This is after the war. Military expenses at its highest, even more than during the war. And Honorable Presiding Member, what you spend for healthcare and education is less than 10%. How can you justify that? Is this sustainable? But even today, despite the fact that this country's economy has been destroyed, and that you really have to go begging to people that you considered your enemies in the last, like India, even today, not a word is being spoken about the ridiculous way in which the military is being maintained and defense expenditure is being maintained. Why is that? These are the questions that the ordinary Sinhalese people must ask themselves. If they can be lied to in front of their own eyes in the way that they have been, just imagine the lies that these leaders have told about the Tamils, about what the Tamils are asking for. And if they don't ask that, if they don't ask those questions, and if they don't make the right decisions in that election that we say must happen, then nothing can save this country, Honorable Presiding Member. And as far as I'm concerned, that will be the last chance. That will be the last chance. When my father was assassinated by the Chandrika Kumartunga government, Honorable Presiding Member, members of my family who had settled abroad,
please wind up.
Members of my family who were settled abroad asked me and my family, my mother and my sister, to come abroad, to declare asylum and to come abroad. But despite the fact that my father was assassinated, something in me, despite all the evidence to say that this system is not going to be changed, something in me said that it is the leaders that are at fault, that the Sinhalese people have not been told the truth, that one day if they actually can have an opportunity to know the truth, that they might change the right, take the right decision. That is that moment that I thought then has come. And if this opportunity, in this moment, if the Sinhalese people don't open their eyes, and if they don't accept the fact that Sri Lanka is not just for the Sinhala Buddhists, that it is for the Tamils, it is for the Muslims, and it is for the upcountry Tamils and the Burghers and whoever.
Please wind up.
If you don't change the system accordingly to recognize that there is the Sinhala-speaking nation and the Tamil-speaking nation in this country, and if you don't change that system to one of a federal nature, then this country will fail. It will fail because you will have to continue your defense expenditure. It will fail because a newer diaspora, a newer Tamil society, a more modern society will find modern ways of trying to undermine the state, because they consider the state as the entity that is against them, that is against their right. All this while we can say that it is the leaders. But today when the Sinhalese people themselves in front of their own eyes have realized that they have been hoodwinked, they have been lied to, they have been defrauded by their own leaders, there is no way that they can now turn around and tell that the Tamils have not been wronged. If they are in fact going to turn around and say that the Tamils have not been wronged, then there is a racist agenda. And I sincerely hope, Honourable Presiding Member, as an individual who was born and bred in Colombo in the south, as an individual who has some of my closest friends as being Sinhalese, Buddhists, and with whom I have a lot of closeness, I sincerely hope that last...
Honourable Presiding Member, let me, at the outset, we are debating on the speech made by Honourable Ali Sabri regarding the current situation and also pertaining to his visit to the IMF. But at the outset, let me congratulate on my friend Honourable Gajendra Ponnambalam on his speech. I think he made certainly very valid points. I certainly agree with him that we really need to look at how the country is being governed, and if a new constitution is in order, certainly we can look at a new constitution. But I also do believe that we need to work within the framework of the existing constitution if we are to look at constitutional changes. But the core of his speech was on federalism. And I do believe that the devolution of power is a necessity, and I have also, as a member of the Provincial Council in which you and I both served, but I also think that we need to do it in steps or in stages. Because we need to understand that there is mistrust between communities, particularly the Tamils and the Sinhalese. So devolution of power, I do agree. But we need to do it in stages, and I think that is something we should seriously look at. But I also want to speak in general about this current situation of the country, Honourable Presiding Member. And I'm not the one to give advice or so, but I do think that in the morning that there's a responsibility on the parliamentary members and the Speaker on how we conduct ourselves. We saw that we don't pay any attention to the standing orders. We don't pay any attention to parliamentary traditions. We want to try and make we want to make sure that our voice is heard. We don't pay any courtesy to other members who want to make sure that they are, who wants to express their views. So I certainly hope that this country at this juncture needs some discipline. That discipline will come from Parliament itself. Honourable Presiding Member, pertaining to the current situation, the Foreign Ministry under Professor G.L. Pieris has been embarked and been working on with the Finance Ministry in order to see how we can best get this country out of this situation. We have approached friendly countries bilaterally, seeking help in bridging finance and in areas such as in assistance to provide us with medicine and other necessities which prevail. We have also reached the multilateral organizations, and we have also reached the friendly countries. There's a process of SDR, special drawing rights, and we understand that if some countries have excess SDRs, then certain other countries might be able to utilize those SDRs. I yesterday had a meeting with Honourable Janaka Wakkumbara to see how best we can initiate the action. If there is a food shortage, how we can initiate any action pertaining to getting some food from the SARC food bank. So it's not that these things have not been done, but as Honourable Finance Minister stated, that I think that at this juncture it is very critical that everybody works together. I don't think we can come out of this situation if parties don't come to work together. Now. What we debated most of today and most of yesterday was pertaining to the vote on the Deputy Speaker. People were saying that there were deals within politics. I think that politics in general is full of deals, and politics will never be based on morality. So our position pertaining to selecting the Deputy Speaker was that we had already given that position to the SLFP, and we took the position that if SLFP nominates any candidate, that we will not oppose that. But we know that perfectly. We are perfectly aware that the SLFP wants to conduct themselves in the opposition, and we are completely all right with that. And as pertaining to the confidence of whether the Prime Minister enjoys the confidence of this House, I think no confidence motion has been put forward. So I think we should take the no confidence motion into debate sooner rather than later. But let's see what will be the outcomes of the no confidence motion. One outcome will be the government can retain its majority. What then? Would the ground situation change if the government retains its majority? I don't think so. Another situation is that the government can have a majority, but nonetheless not have the 113. Then what happens? Or the other situation is that the leader of the opposition can be invited to form a government. So I think it's fair that the SLFP is making that request. If they succeed in a no confidence motion, what will be the next step? Because we need to have a legitimate government controlling the state of affairs. Otherwise, this country will move into anarchy. I also think that there is a parliamentary responsibility at this juncture. The Honourable Speaker can discuss with the party leaders and maybe have some parliamentary committees to see how we can bring dollars into this country, or how we can send people overseas, so we can take all these measures there. Now, as I was planning on talking on the restructuring, because the restructuring itself is going to take a lot of pains. A good way to, a good future indication is that, if you compare ourselves with the countries such as Ecuador, or if you look at the Caribbean countries, there has been debt restructuring which has been done. And most of the debt restructuring, if you have a fair assessment, has been somewhat, where the results are sometimes positive, and at other times we cannot say that the intended results took place. So this is a process in which we all need to work together. I think even if the SJB and the government gets together, and if the JVP does not get together or form a government, then I don't think we will get out of this situation. Because we know, although they have 3 members in this House, we know that they have sizable control in the trade unions. And then what will that result in? If we form a national government without the JVP, what will that result in? So I think at this juncture, if everyone can join in some form of government, and if even the TNA and Honourable Gajian Ponnambalam can join in the government and bring that legislation which you speak of, and if we then we don't need to have another election, or we can have an election after a stipulated period of time. But at this juncture, going for an election might not be the most practical solution. Election itself costs something of to the amount of 10 billion rupees. Do we have the resources to go to the election is also a question. So I think we need not wait. We can bring these the legislative changes which the people are talking about. If anybody who can command the majority of this House, Honourable Prime Minister has said that he will be more than glad to resign. But if he resigns, what next? If he resigns, what next? So all I'm asking from the opposition members and the government members is that we need to face this situation with a plan. Thank you for your time.
Suti. මීළඟට ගරු හෙක්ටර් අප්පුහාමි මන්ත්‍රීතුමා ඔබතුමාට විනාඩි 7ක කාලයක් තියෙනවා.
මුලාසන හේබෝන ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමනි විශේෂයෙන්ම අද වෙලාව ලබා දුන්නට කතාවක් කරන්න නෙමෙයි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. කතා කර කර ඉන්න වෙලාවක් නෙමෙයි මේක. මොකද හේතුව රටේ මිනිස්සු සියලු දෙනාම එළියට බහැලා මේ මිනිස්සුත් ගුටි කනවා. රටේ මිනිස්සුන්ට කණ්ඩත් නැහැ. කතානායකතුමාට එන්න කියන්න එළියට බහැලා කතානායකතුමාට කියන්න පාර්ලිමේන්තුව මොනවද කරන්න කියලා. එක්කෝ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව නවත්තන්න ඕන. එහෙම නැත්නම් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව විසිරවන්න ඕන. එහෙම නැත්නම් විශ්වාස භංගය ගෙනල්ලා මේක දෙකෙන් එකක් කරන්න ඕනද? මේ රටේ කරන්න ඕන වෙලාව. කතානායකතුමාට එන්න කියන්නේ. ඇවිල්ලා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද කරන්න කියලා. කතානායකතුමාට එන්න කියන්නේ. මිනිස්සුන්ට ගහන යන්නේ මේ වැඩේ. කතානායකතුමාට මෙතෙන්ට එන්න කියන්නේ. අපි හැම දෙනෙකුටම අවස්ථාව දෙන්න හැම දෙනෙකුට කතා කරන්න. අදහස ගන්න අනිත් අය අදහස අරගන්න. මොකද්ද කරන්න කියලා අනිත් අයට වෙලාව දෙන්න කතා කරන්න කියලා. කතානායකට එන්න කියන්න. කාලේ දීලා මේ අනිත් අයට ඉඩ දෙන්න මේ බයිලා කතා කරගෙන ඉන්න බෑ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ. මේ බයිලා කියන වෙලාවක් නෙවෙයි. රටේ ප්‍රශ්නේ විසඳෙන්න ඕන. ඕ විසඳ බංගේ. මොනවා විසඳන්නේ? පොයින්ට් ඔෆ් ඕඩර් දෙන්න පොයින්ට් ඔෆ් ඕඩර් එතුමාට මගේ වෙලාවෙන් දෙන්න මගේ වෙලාවෙන් දෙන්න.
ගරු බුද්ධික මට කතානායකතුමාට එන්න කියන්න බෑ. කතානායකතුමාට දැනුම් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. මම ඒකත් මේ කාරණාව
ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනකොට කතානායකතුමාට හරියන්නේ නැහැ. කතානායකතුමා කාමරේ ඉඳලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. කතානායකතුමාට එන්න විදියක් නැහැ.
ගරු බුද්ධික
ගරු සභාපතිතුමනි මේ බලන්න Facebook එකේ තවත් නාලිකාවල සජීවීව යනවා මේ මොහොතේ. හරි මේ එළිය ගහනවා. මේ තරුණයන්ට අරගල කරුවන්ට ඉතා තිරස්චීන විදිහට මේ මොහොතේ කඳුළු ගෑස් සහ ජල ප්‍රවාහ එල්ල කරනවා. හරි දැන් මේකේ මොකද ඊළඟ තත්ත්වය? මේ නරක තත්ත්වය ඇති වෙන්න ඉඩ දෙන්න එපා. හරි මේ කතානායක ගෙන්නන්න. නැත්නම් මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව කුඩු පට්ටම් කරලා දාන තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වෙනවා. අපිට මේ කාලකන්ණි තත්ත්වය ඇති කරන්න එපා රටේ. ඒකයි කියන්නේ. ඒ නිසා මේ රටේ වෛරයක් ඇති වෙලා තියෙන දැනටමත් ඒ වෛරයට බාධා වෙලා තියෙන තත්ත්වය ඇති කරන්න. කතානායකන වගකීම් හැමදෙරුනේ පළවෙනි පේලි දෙක තුන එකෙක් කෙනේ මොකද්ද මේ තත්ත්වය? ඒ නිසා ගරු මූලාසනාරුට සභාපතිතුමනි කරුණාකරලා කතානායක ගෙන්නන්න මේ වගකීම් හැමදෙරු ගෙන්නන්න. මේ මොහොතේ මේ සියලු දෙනාට බලන්න පුළුවන්.
මන්ත්‍රීතුමාලා වාඩි වෙලා
ඒ නිසා මේකට
මන්ත්‍රීතුමාලා වාඩි වෙලා කතා එක මන්ත්‍රීවරයෙක් කතා කරන්න. ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමාලා වාඩි වෙලා එක මන්ත්‍රීවරයෙක් කතා කරන්න. ගරු ජේ.සී. අලවතුරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමා.
ගරු මූලාසන මන්ත්‍රීතුමනි දැන් ඇත්තටම මේ තත්ත්වය තුළ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ අපි කතා කරනවා නෙමෙයි අපි කතානායකතුමා බාර දීලා තියෙන විශ්වාසභංග දෙකක් ජනාධිපතියට විරුද්ධවත් ඒ වගේම ආණ්ඩුවට විරුද්ධවත් අපිට අද පක්ෂ නායක රැස්වීමේදී ලබා දීලා තියෙන පිළිතුරු අපිට සායමිකටවත් වෙන්න බෑ. අද එළියේ ජනතාව ඇවිල්ලා මේ වෙනකොට එයාලට කඳුළු ගෑස් ගන්නවා පහර දෙනවා. අපිට අවශ්‍යයි වෙලාවක්. අපිට දිනයක් අවශ්‍යයි. අපි කතානායකතුමා ඉල්ලන්නේ අපිට අවශ්‍යයි දිනයක්. කවද්ද මේ විශ්වාසභංගය සාකච්ඡා කරන්නේ? ලබන සතිය දිගටම පාර්ලිමේන්තුව තියලා මේක සාකච්ඡා කරන්න. එළියේ ඉන්න ජනතාවට රටේ ජනතාවට අපි විසඳුමක් දෙන්න ඕනි. මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව රැස් වෙලා වැඩක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ නැත්තම්.
මම කතානායකතුමා දැන් ගරු හරින් ප්‍රනාන්දුමන්තුව
කියන්නේ හලෝ මේ ගරු සභාපතිතුමනි කරුණාකරලා කතානායකතුමා මෙතනට එන්නේ නැත්නම් අපි කතානායකතුමාව අද අඩස්සිය ඇතුලේ තියාගන්නවා. ඒ නිසා කරුණාකරලා මතක තියාගන්න කතානායකට ගෙදර යන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. කරුණාකරලා විශ්වාස භංගයට දවස දෙනකන් මිනිසුන් අපි ඇතුළට ගේනවා. මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව අද ඇවිල්ලා කියනවා මයික් එකේ කියනවා මෙන්න මුංගේ ෆොටෝ මේ බලන්න මුන් කතා කරන හැටි මෙච්චර රටේ මිනිසුන්ට ගානවා මුන් කැමති එකට කරු සභාපතිතුමනි කතානායකතුමා ගෙන්නන්න
ගරු තාරක බාලසූරිය මන්තුමා
මූලාශ්‍ර මන්ත්‍රීතුමනි මං හිතන්නේ දැන් ඔබතුමා මේ පුටුවේ ඉන්නේ. එතකොට ඔබතුමාට තීන්දුව ගන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද ඒ ඉම්පීච්මන්ට් එකක් කරන්න ඔය පුටුවේ ඉන්න කෙනෙක්ට තීන්දුව ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් මේ නාඩගම කරන එක නවත්තන්න. දැන් ඔබතුමාත් ඉන්නේ ඔය පක්ෂේ වෙන මේ එතුමාත් ඉන්නේ අර පක්ෂේ ගන්න. වෙන්න පාර්ලිමේන්තුව. හරි. වෙන්න ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදය. වෙන්න ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදය රකින්න විදිය. වෙන්න ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදය. මෙන්න තක්කඩිකම. වයසක මිනිස්සුන්ට ගහන්න මේ හරේ ප්‍රාණ මන්ත්‍රීතුමා. ඔබතුමාගේ තක්කඩිකම පෙන්නන්න. දැන් මේ මිනිස්සුන්ට ගෙවුවා කියලා
පාර්ලිමේන්තුව විනාඩි 10කට කල් තබනවා ඇති තියෙන තත්ත්වය හේතු කොටගෙන.
අද මොහොතකට කලින් ඇති වුණු මේ සිද්ධියේදී අපි කතා වුණු පරිදි ලබන සඳුදා පෙරවරු 10ට පක්ෂ නායක රැස්වීමක් අපි කැඳවලා තියෙනවා. ඒ රැස්වීමේදී අපි සාකච්ඡා කළා හැකිනම් ඒ සතියම තුල හෝ ඊළඟ සතියේ 17 වෙනිදා නොයරදීම අපි පාර්ලිමේන්තු සභාව රැස් වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම එළියේ සිදුවෙන සිදුවීම් ගැන අපි ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම කනගාටුව පළ කරනවා. පොලිසියේ රාජකාරිය කරන්න ගිහිල්ලා පොලිස් නිලධාරීන්ට හෝ ඒ වගේම සාමකාමී උද්ඝෝෂණේ අපි උද්ඝෝෂකයන්ව තිල්ලා හිටනෝ සාමකාමීව මේ උද්ඝෝෂණය කරන්න ඒකේ අවුලක් නැහැ. මෙතෙක් කල් එහෙම කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති වුණේ නැහැ. ඒ නිසා ඒ අනුව කරන්න අපි මේ එළියේ සිද්ධ වෙවි ඇති සිද්ධිය සම්බන්ධයෙන් පොලිසියේ සම්පූර්ණ වාර්තාවක් අපි ලබන සතියේ පොලිස්පතිවරයාගෙන් කැඳවනවා. එතෙක් ඔබ සියලු දෙනාම ගැත් දැක් වූ උනන්දුවට මගේ ස්තුතිය පළ කරමින් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව මේ මාස 13 වෙනි දින පෙරවරු 10 දක්වා කල් තබනවා. කල් තබමු 17